Hi there, I'm SmallAnt1, and welcome to my beginner's guide to the Super Mario Odyssey any % Metro Kingdom route. In this video, I'll be showing you the basic path through the kingdom, describing the movement, and explaining any tricks you may find difficult. There are timestamps in the video description if you want to skip to a particular section, but let's get started. Here's what a good beginner's Night Metro looks like, and I'll wait until after it's done to talk about it. Alright, so there's Night Metro. Has some tough platforming, followed by a boss fight. To start off, have Mario jump and dive twice, then roll and jump across the girders to the wire. Capture it and travel down. There is a slightly faster way. You may have seen some runners do this section with a roll cancel and triple jump off the railing. This jump saves around a second or so and is pretty difficult, so don't worry about doing that until you're much more experienced. After getting down to the ground below, roll and triple jump onto the awning, and using the bounce from the awning, get up to the roof. A lot of people have issues with this awning jump, so I'll talk in detail of how to do this one. To do the awning jump correctly, have Mario land on the highest part of the awning. At the peak of the awning jump, do a cap throw, wait for Mario to do the full spin, then dive onto Cappy, wall jump right away, then at the peak of the wall jump, throw Cappy, and dive onto the rooftop. There are a few common mistakes that are made on this jump. One is throwing Cappy before the peak of the awning jump. If you throw Cappy when Mario's not at the peak, then he will not have enough height. Another mistake is not waiting for Mario to do the full spin after throwing Cappy for the first time. If Mario dives too early, he will not get enough height. Jumping too low on the awning is also a mistake that can happen, so to ensure Mario jumps on the highest part of the awning, have Mario wall slide down onto it. Something that can make this jump easier for some people is after the cap jump, throwing Cappy towards the wall before the wall jump gets Mario a bit of extra height. However, if Mario grabs the wall before the cap throw, then it loses Mario's height. So if you do try the cap throw at the wall, make sure not to aim the control stick towards the wall too early. So to recap, wall slide, jump on the awning, cap throw at the peak, wait for Mario to spin, dive, cap throw here if you want to, wall jump, cap throw, then dive. Once on the rooftop, jump onto the blocks and long jump and cap jump all the way over to the girders. With this jump, you need to let Mario start to fall just a bit to get further forwards before throwing Cappy. And then after the cap throws, make sure to wait a moment before diving to get the maximum height and distance from the cap jump. Once on the girder, just backflip and wall jump up to the moon. If you don't like the long jump, you can instead backflip, cap jump, wall jump, and dive onto the roof and then jump down to the moon. It's a little slower, but if it's more consistent, then it's probably worth doing at the start. If you do make a mistake and miss the girder, don't worry, you can have Mario wall jump up to get the moon also. The fast way to get this moon is to quickly dive, triple jump, cap jump, wall jump, and then jump down to the moon. The spacing for this jump is pretty tricky, so if you're just starting out, I would recommend sticking to the long jump. After the girder moon, cap jump and wall jump back onto the rooftop, then do another long jump and cap jump across the big gap. This jump is similar to the previous long jump. You need to let Mario fall a bit before throwing Cappy to ensure he gets enough distance. As with most things in Night Metro, there is a faster strat here, where you have Mario roll off the edge of the roof, then jump off the Goomba at the end. Rolling off the roof can be a pretty tight jump, so stick to the long jump for now. On the next rooftop, roll over to the wire and capture it, then travel upwards. Roll, jump, and dive over to the next set of girders, and then enter the City Hall building. The inside of this building has moving platforms that are on a cycle, so have Mario roll right away and jump over onto this platform. Then dive, and triple jump, and cap jump, and wall jump up to get to the next platform. From here, backflip, cap throw towards the wall jump, cap throw left, then dive onto the pole. Move Mario to the back of the pole, then mash the jump button all the way up. The beginning section can be done faster with the triple jump, cap jump, and a wall jump to get onto the platform before it moves. It's a bit challenging, especially doing it fast enough to make it to the platform in time, but try it out if you like. Back to the poles. Once Mario touches the upper pole for the third time, turn and jump to the next pole, then turn again, jump off, cap jump, wall jump, cap throw to open the chest, and get the moon. Cap jump over to the high platform, then long jump, and cap jump across the enormous gap. The camera for this jump is absolute garbage. There's nothing you can do to make the camera better. The most straightforward way I've found to do this jump is to long jump. Once the camera begins to rotate, throw Cappy in the direction you want to go. Wait for Mario to do the full spin, but while waiting, make sure to rotate the control stick to compensate for the camera rotation to keep Mario traveling in the proper direction. After Mario does the twirl, dive onto Cappy, and continue rotating the control stick to compensate for the camera rotation. And when the camera stops moving, throw Cappy and dive over the railing and roll through the door. This jump can be a pain if you mess it up. You'll have to climb all the way back up, so be sure to practice this jump before you do any runs so you're somewhat comfortable with it. Once Mario is outside, walk into the checkpoint. In Day Metro you will have to warp here. Then go over to the wire and zip up the building. Once Mario is up to the top of the building, hop out of the wire a bit early, dive onto the ledge, and jump up to trigger the boss fight. Mecha Wiggler is one of the boss fights in the any % run that is pretty hard to do fast. To start the fight, dive over to a tank and capture it, and there are a few things that you should know about tanks. Aiming in tanks can be pretty hard. I find that having the motion controls set to high in the options, and primarily using motion controls to aim the tank, made aiming much easier. The motion control aiming feels a little weird at first, but once you become accustomed to them, you'll likely find that they make the fight much more consistent. The other thing about tanks is that if there are 3 tank bullets in the air at any time, then the tank will overheat, which stops it from moving and shooting. If you're far away from the target, then don't shoot too fast, but if you're right beside the target, shoot as fast as you like. Now, back to the boss fight. Aim at the Wiggler and shoot all of its body segments. When a bullet hits a segment, it will destroy that segment and the one on each side of it, so this first cycle of the Wiggler can be taken out with 3 shots if you're accurate. Once all of the segments are hit, wait a moment for the Wiggler to be vulnerable, and then aim at the head, get close, and fire as fast as you can. In this cycle, the head doesn't move around much, so that's why I aim for that one. After hitting the head 6 times, it will start to move around and enter a portal in the wall. If you finish this first cycle fast enough, then you can move the tank into this corner, don't move, let the Wiggler run past, then as the last body segment of the Wiggler enters the wall, move forwards until you hit the next corner, wait for the Wiggler to walk again, and once its last body segment enters the wall, move left a bit so the Wiggler will enter the wall behind you. Move out of the way before the Wiggler hits the tank. Once the Wiggler enters the large spray building, aim up to the top of the building while moving backwards. Once the tank is aiming at the top of the building, you can stop moving and aim to the center of the building with the control stick. This is done so the tank can easily hit anywhere on the building without an issue. Moving from corner to corner makes the Wiggler take the shortest path, but only if you finish the first cycle fast enough. If you're a bit slow on the first cycle, then just avoid the Wiggler walking in any way that you can. The portal will move to a random part of the building, fire out 5 projectiles, and then the Wiggler will walk out. Try to shoot 2 or 3 of the projectiles, and it's alright if you miss, we're just trying to get them out of the way for when we're firing at the Wiggler. After letting the Wiggler walk around for a second or so, aim at its head and wait for it to become vulnerable. Start firing at the head once the body segments light up, and if timed properly, it's possible to hit all of the segments while the Wiggler is moving without having to readjust your aim. This is pretty tough, so readjust as necessary. You don't have to worry about the projectiles from the Wiggler, as they will hurt you, but there shouldn't be enough to kill you during this cycle. Once the Wiggler stops moving, shoot the remaining body segments, prioritizing the ones that are nearest the head first, as those will become invulnerable earlier. If you hit all of the body segments before the Wiggler becomes invulnerable, then just wait for it to become stunned and finish it off. This is a 2-cycle Wiggler, and if you're just starting out, don't expect to get these consistently. Most of the time, you'll miss a few segments and have to do an extra cycle, but as you practice the fight more, you will improve and get 2 cycles more and more frequently. After the fight, roll over and jump to the multi-moon to finish off Night Metro. If you are just starting out running the game, some of the things in Night Metro will likely be a challenge for you, so don't get too discouraged. Everyone has trouble at first, and you will improve with practice and time. That's the end of Night Metro, though. Here's what a good beginner's day Metro looks like.
Drop me the blue, I mean, see that?
Definitely fun.
Oh?
Du mal laat me kan je staat me op renting. Ja. Just want to know. OTEP, key alsof je ook carry. Yay!
Alright, so there's Day Metro. Lots of moons to collect in this one. To start off, jump and dive over to the Girder, throw Cappy towards the wire and hold him there, but don't capture it. Then enter the Girder real quick and get the moon. After getting the moon, shake the controller to teleport back to the wire. If you're not fast enough and Cappy comes back to Mario, then just leave the Girder normally. After leaving the wire, roll over to the guy, capture him, drive the little RC car to the moon, drive around the corner, then back into the moon to get it. This RC car can be pretty finicky, and it will take you a bit of practice to get used to the controls. If you've watched some high-level runners, you'll know that instead of using the RC car, they instead use the scooter here, driving close to the cage, and as the scooter passes by the cage, turn left into it and physically tilt the controller really far. Like, if you're on a pro controller, you'd nearly hold it upside down. Tilting the controller tilts the scooter just enough to have Mario's head tag the moon. The scooter clip is rather difficult, so I wouldn't try it during a run if you're just starting out. After collecting the RC car moon, leave the guy and roll over to the awning, jump up to the top of the building and capture the pylon. Using a motion control shake with the pylon is a little faster, so shake the controller once Mario is in it, dive over to the garbage and ground pound it to collect the moon. Cap jump over to capture the next pylon, and aim it to fling Mario at the bench way down below. From this height, Mario will be stunned when he hits the ground, but if Mario lands on the bench, then the sit animation will cancel the stun. If you do land on the bench, press absolutely nothing to have Mario sit down. Give a little pep talk to the sad guy to get a moon, then dive off the bench, capture the pylon, do a motion control fling over to the crates, destroy the crate, and roll down the Girder into the moon. From here, have Mario warp to the checkpoint you activated in Night Metro. Now that Mario is up on the building, roll over to long jump and cap jump over to the garbage moon, collect that, then dive to the moon down below. Take your time to readjust the camera if you need here. You don't want to miss the moon and have to come back to try again. After collecting the moon, cap jump and dive over to the next wire. Travel up to the top of the building, backflip and cap jump to get up where the spire starts. Then jump up in whatever way works, and shake to climb. And jump and shake again to climb fast up to the moon. The fast way to get up this tower is to backflip and time dives properly, but that's probably fairly difficult for a beginner. Give it a try, I suppose, and if you don't like it, then stick with what I described first. After collecting the moon on the tip, cap throw, dive, and then dive down to the pool moon. Aiming this dive can be a little tough. If you miss the moon, you can use the umbrella on the right to get back up to it. From this moon, cap jump and ground pound down to the cafe moon. Hitting the moon with a ground pound from all the way up here is a bit tricky. There isn't really a visual cue or anything. You'll eventually just get a feeling of where to ground pound. The moon is always in the same place though, so if you miss, just ground pound on the square here. After this moon, cap jump down again and throw Cappy before Mario hits the ground to prevent any stun when he lands. You could also either dive into the door here, or press the jump button right as Mario hits the ground to prevent the stun as well. In the crowded room, throw Cappy at the switch and then dive to start rolling, shake during the dive to get Cappy to activate the switch, roll along the right side of the room to avoid the crowd, At the end of the room, stop rolling before the doorway, and then jump over to the moon. Now cap jump and dive onto the awning, and cap throw, dive to the next one. Dive onto the pole and jump off, and cap jump over to the moon. Now just dive and walk out. Dive and roll over to Pauline to talk to her. Then just dive over to the drummer to get a moon. You'll be brought into the interior of City Hall, but just roll right out of here. Outside, jump and dive, then roll over to the wire. Capture it and travel over to the piece of the Mecha Wiggler. Ground pound it to collect the moon, then dive over to the musician to receive the final moon. Wait for a moment after the screen shrinks to black, then open up the map and warp to the Odyssey to finish it off. Metro Kingdom is one of the longest kingdoms with a lot of difficult strats. As I've said, many of these strategies will take a lot of practice to get consistent, so during your first few runs, try not to get too overwhelmed. You will improve with enough practice. That's the end of the guide for this kingdom. If I forgot any details, or if you have any helpful tips, feel free to leave them in the comments below. They are much appreciated. But thanks for watching, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm Smallent1, and I'll see you next time.